Welcome to the silver lining where it's no filler, no fluff, but we keeps it a buck. And today I'm going to be talking about Taylor Swift versus Billie Eilish. Is this anything or much to do about nothing? So I saw a story about this and I was like, okay, what is this even about? I'm a fan of both artists, by the way. I like both of them. I did reviews on both of their last albums. I'll link those in the description below if you want to check those out. So I was wondering, was this really anything? And when I looked into it, it kind of led me down one of those internet black holes where you search one thing, leads to another thing, leads to another thing. So I'm just going to discuss kind of the things that I found, and then at the end, I'll talk about if I think this is really anything. Okay, so from what I was able to find, this kind of starts back in 2002, where the frontman for the Gorillaz and Blur, Damon Albarn, made some comments about Taylor Swift when he was having an interview. And basically what he said was the interview was asking about Taylor Swift and talking about her in terms of her ability to write, that she writes and co-writes on all of her songs. And his response was, "That doesn't count. I know what co-writing is. Co-writing is very different to writing. I'm not hating on anybody. I'm just saying there's a big difference between a big difference between a songwriter and a songwriter who co-writes. Doesn't mean that the outcome can't be really great. A really interesting songwriter is Billie Eilish and her brother. I'm more attracted to that than to Taylor Swift. It's just darker, less endlessly upbeat, way more minor and odd. I think she's exceptional." So here's my problem with that statement. Don't disrespect Taylor Swift's pen like that, bro. Like, come on, like we know she writes, like we know about her pen game. So like that's just ridiculous to me. And I also hate the fact that he even brought Billie Eilish into it, because it's like, so now you're discrediting one artist while you're bigging up someone else. It's this kind of thing that we just do where we just put artists against each other unnecessarily. So I don't like that comment at all. I think it was definitely out of pocket, and Taylor Swift caught wind of it, and she did clap back, and she basically said on her Twitter, I write all my own songs. Your hot take is completely false, so damaging. You don't have to like my songs, but it's really fucked up to try to discredit my writing. Wow. And I missed the beginning of that, but she also said, I was a big fan of yours until I saw this. And I think her response was very much appropriate. She got to defend herself. You can't just be popping off like that for nothing. Like, nobody, she didn't say anything to him. So what was this even about, right? Now, he did apologize. To his credit, he did apologize to Taylor Swift on Twitter. And he said, I totally agree with you. I had a conversation about songwriting, and sadly, it was reduced to clickbait. I apologize unreservedly and unconditionally. The last thing I want to do is discredit your songwriting. I hope you understand. So, like, my thing is, like, you said it, bro. You got to stand on it. Like, you say what you said. Like, you trying to say it's clickbait. Like, that's not really clickbait. Clickbait is when they portray something on the image to get you to click on the article. This wasn't misconstrued. This is exactly what he said. So did they make it into a big deal? Well, yeah, because you just said that one of the biggest artists in the world, who is, known for being a songwriter, don't really write her songs or whatever. So yeah, they are going to make a big deal of it, and they should. So it's not clickbait. Like you said it, right? So that's what it was. Jack Antonoff, who's a producer, he's produced a lot of Taylor Swift songs and a lot of other great artists as well. He responded as well and said, I've never met Damon. He's never been to my studio, but apparently he knows more than the rest of us about all these songs Taylor writes and brings in. Herb, if you were there, cool, go off. If not, maybe shut the fuck up. Yeah, pretty well said. So Let's fast forward. A few months later, Billie Eilish is doing a performance at Coachella. She was the headliner. And who did she bring out? David Auburn. She's a special guest, and she brings him out on stage. And I mean, look, I mean, she's probably a fan, so technically, it's not bad. Technically, you know, I mean, just because she said that doesn't necessarily mean there's a problem with Taylor Swift. It's just maybe she was a fan, she wanted to bring him out. The timing was kind of weird, and then the best part is that um, a male voice could be heard on a hot mic and on a live stream, and they jokingly said we're gonna get sued by Taylor Swift. So that's the only thing. So it does kind of feel like they knew the temperature and they knew that there was some smoke here, and they still brought him out and maybe thought it would be funny. I don't know. It may be nothing, but yeah, you know, I get how it could be looked at that way. So yeah, I don't know. Okay, so let's fast forward now to March 2024. Billie Eilish had the following statement. I find it really frustrating as somebody who really goes out of my way to be sustainable and do the best that I can to try to involve everybody in my team in being sustainable. And then some of the biggest artists in the world making 40 fucking vinyl packages that have different unique thing just to go get you to keep buying more. It's so wasteful and it's irritating to me, and we're still at a point where you care that much about your numbers and care that much about making money, and it's all your favorite artists doing that shit. So she's referring to doing these things where artists will release an album and then they'll release another album that's like a special edition version that has new songs, and then they might have released another variant of it. Maybe they'll have different kind of vinyls and stuff like that, and they release them just to kind of keep the sales boosting and whatnot. It's technically not a new thing. I mean, I remember artists used to do that all the time. They'd have the regular version and the bonus version, but in the age of streaming, it's a little different because you could technically release the original one and then upload the new version with new songs, and people just go back and stream it again. And just by you releasing new songs, it might make them stream the old album again. Like, oh yeah, let me come back to this now. So I do get it. Now, to be fair, Billie Eilish does the same thing. She also does that too. So some people look at it as hypocritical for her to like bring that up. But I get what she's saying. But I mean, this is just the new way of music. This is just a new way of doing things. Now, Billie Eilish did respond to people assuming that she was talking about Taylor Swift, and she did say the following. It would be awesome if people would stop putting words in my mouth. I wasn't singling anyone out. So, you know, that's what she said. But, you know, it's like we got in hip hop, man. Sometimes you say something and it's a subliminal. You know, you might say something in a real slick way that's a diss. And, you know, if I catch it, you know, I'm going to respond, right? But, and here's the thing. Sometimes it wasn't even a diss. Sometimes things can just come off like it's a diss. The person takes it that way, and then that's how it goes. That's how rap wars start all the time, about something that may or may not have been a diss. But now an important part that I do want to emphasize is that if you read the full quote, she does point the finger at herself as well. You know, I put the full statement up there in the video, but when I originally recorded, I didn't, and I should have. So I just want to make sure that that's clear here. She does say in the comments she's including herself in the criticism. So it does take a little bit of the temperature out of it when she's saying that in general, this variant thing is an issue. It's a systemic problem, and she's part of the problem. So her saying that does take a little bit off of it, in my opinion. It doesn't mean it wasn't a little subliminal shot there as well, but when she says she's including herself, maybe not. But I do want to emphasize that because I didn't say that in the original recording, and I should have. So yeah. Now here's where it gets fun. So Taylor Swift released her album April 19th, 2024. It's been number one on the Billboard since. As of July 7th, it was still number one. And a lot of people do feel like the reason why it's still number one is because of all the different variants of the albums that she puts out. Now, me personally, I think that's a part of it, but I also think that she just has a diehard loyal fan base that's just continuing to stream the album to keep it number one as long as they can. I think that's really the reason why. I don't think it's all. I'm not saying the variants have nothing to do with it because it probably does, but I think a bigger reason is just her fans. They just keep streaming it, right? They're hardcore fans. Now, where things get pretty interesting here is on May 17th when Billie Eilish released her album, the Hit Me Hard and Soft album. It just so happens that on that same exact day, Taylor Swift went ahead and released two brand new variants of her last album. And again, this is on the same day as Billie Eilish dropped her album, and so the perception here was that like she literally dropped these variants the same day just to make sure that she stays number one and blocks Billie Eilish from getting that number one spot. Now, whether that was or wasn't a strategy, that's exactly what happened. Billie Eilish's album opened up at number two. Taylor Swift continued to be number one there. Um, it's a little weird, but I think that like I think Taylor Swift does like the fact that she's number one and she wants to like keep that number one streak going as long as possible. And so if there's a big artist coming out, she tries to do something to try to keep her numbers up to just keep it at number one. It's not so much trying to block someone else as far as this to just keep her number one. It's not impossible that she might have dropped that variant even if it wasn't Billie Eilish dropping. Maybe if anybody else dropped, she might have done the same thing. Anyone else that was like big, like dropped, she might have did the same thing. Now, is it possible that because it was Billie Eilish and you just brought Homie on stage and all that stuff that it was a little bit of like, oh, all right, yeah, like it's her? I'm definitely dropping two variants today. Could there be some of that? Yeah, it could. It definitely could. I'm not gonna sit here and lie. It definitely could. So yeah, that is weird to drop those on the same day. It is a little weird for sure. Another interesting thing is Danny Ruckerson, Billie Eilish's manager, had liked and retweeted a since deleted tweet, which I don't know why people even do that. Like, you do a tweet and then you delete it. I mean, it's out there now. I mean, it's done. But he had a tweet where he liked and retweeted a tweet that basically had like a picture showcasing the times where Taylor Swift have basically having a history of blocking artists from going number one. I think one of them was SZA when she was like 4 weeks number one, and Taylor Swift dropped a variant. I think one was at Katy Perry, and then of course the one to Billie Eilish. I don't know about that though because like that SZA album, that album was number one for a minute. So like at some point if she wanted to drop something, it was always gonna like come and be in the way of SZA's album technically, right? So I mean she got to drop at some point, right? So I don't know about that one, and the Billie Eilish one I acknowledge that one is odd. So I don't know about that tweet, but the fact that her manager is tweeting this, it does kind of put some flames to the fire, I guess. Now on a May 21st interview. Now keep in mind this is after Billie Eilish album has come out, so the alleged block has already happened. She had some comments, and again, a lot of times these comments appear to be disses, but they may not necessarily be disses. But when there's perceived conflict, a lot of times things you say start getting looked at that way. So basically, what she said was, "I really wanted songs to not be like, oh, I know what that's about. I think we live in such a world where everyone knows everything. Everyone is aware of the beef that happened and aware of the people that don't like each other and aware of this and that. People put songs out, especially in the pop world, and I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it necessarily, but it's just we live in a world of like someone puts a song out and everyone's like, so is this who I think it's about? And this is the entire story of what happened." It's like it doesn't even give the listener a chance to interpret it how they want to interpret it and how they naturally hear it. And that I find really frustrating. I don't want to hear a song that I'm like, oh my God, every single lyric, oh my God, it's about that person. So, I mean, it may not be like a shot at Taylor Swift, but it's kind of one of those things where it's like, if you're saying in the pop world, and we're talking about someone who makes personal songs and makes songs about people, like about exes that she used to be with, it's kind of feels like you're taking a little swipe. That's the perception of it. That's the perception of it. Another interesting one was so last year when talking about like concerts, she was talking about like Beyonce and Taylor Swift, and she called them untouchable superstars. And the fact that they can put on a show that long and it's filled with so many incredible moments, it's really amazing. So that's what she said about these 3 hour concerts then. However, now, slightly different tone. And she says, and I quote, "I'm not doing a 3 hour show. That's literally psychotic. Nobody wants that. I don't want that. I don't even want that as a fan. My favorite artist in the world, I'm not trying to hear them for 3 hours." So it's like, once again, like she technically could have been talking about other artists that do 3 hour shows. She could be talking about Beyonce, right? But with all the other stuff that I've said, it kind of sounds like it's a little bit of a jab, right? So bottom line, do I think this is anything? I don't think it's nothing. Okay, I don't think it's nothing. I think there's a little teeny bit of smoke, but I think it's like competitive smoke. I don't think it's anything serious. I think that it's all about just trying to be number one. It's all about competition. And I mean, I think right now in terms of quality, I mean, Billie Eilish and Taylor Swift are just like two of the biggest, right? I mean, I guess they'll both be nominated for Album of the Year. They'll probably see each other at the Grammys. They'll chop it up. It's not going to be any. There's no problem, I don't think. But I'm not going to say it's nothing. So I think there's a little bit of something here, but ultimately it's nothing serious. I think they're both great. They're both phenomenal artists, and at the end of the day, I mean, if there is some little competitive smoke, I think that's great. That's gonna make them do more great music. Billie Eilish's last album was outstanding. Like, to me, I probably still have that as my album of the year. It was awesome. Taylor Swift's last album was okay. That one wasn't great, but the competition might bring out great things going forward. So that's how I view it, man. I mean, if there's some things that I missed or got wrong, I apologize. I kind of went down a black hole of this thing, and I got pretty interested into it and figured I may as well do a little video of it. But if I got some stuff wrong, drop it in the comments. If you think I'm an idiot for my opinion, put that in the comments. It's all good. I'm a fan of both artists, and hopefully continue to do great things. So that's all I got, man. It's your boy Reggie. Peace.